Hola a todos chicos, ¿cómo están? Espero que estén muy bien. Bienvenidos a esta entrevista divertidísima que vamos a tener el día de hoy. Hoy tenemos a un invitado muy especial de Estados Unidos. Y bueno, nada más les quiero recordar que a través del super chat pueden hacer notar todos sus comentarios. Eh, Pueden mandar stickers y además de paso ayudan a que este canal siga teniendo contenido increíble para todos ustedes, así que bienvenidos. Y pues nada más les quiero presentar a un gran patinador. Welcome, Sean Rabbitt.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
I'm great, how are you?
Bien, gracias.
That's
Un,
awesome.
un poco español comprendo.
Oh, that's great, that's
Yes.
perfect. ¿Qué tal, chicos? Nuestro invitado Sean Rabbitt habla español, nada más y nada menos. And you also speak Japanese, right?
Yes, so I'm fluent in Japanese as well as English.
Oh.
And then I know a couple of words in Spanish. I know my food. Most
Oh my
important thing.
God.
I know my food in Spanish. So like maíz and tomate, lechuga. I know all the food. So that's all you need to know, right?
So you learned that like in a weekend or what?
In California, because we have such a big Latin culture here, a lot of us, we take Spanish in school. It's a requirement for 2 years. And then just you're surrounded by, like when my friends come to visit, I always say, what do you want for dinner? And they're like, what's the local specialty? And I'm like, Mexican food.
So do you like Mexican food?
Oh, I love.
What do you like? Please tell me.
Oh, chilaquiles and huevos rancheros and enchilada and oh my gosh, anything.
So can you eat the spicy stuff? The hot sauce?
Poquito, a little bit.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I mean,
Oh my
all
gosh,
North American get so hot when they eat hot food. It's like they can't stand it.
oh, I like okay, for Mexicans, what's like a like low level heat for
Yeah.
spicy? That's like my limit. Like I can do
Nice.
that comfortably.
Okay, so when you come to Mexico, we'll take you for real Mexican food, really spicy, so you can learn.
Okay, sounds good.
That's awesome. So let's start. So I want to tell you to tell me how did you start skating?
Sure. So I started at the age of 3, and my brother, who's older, started at 5, and we did it just as something fun to do. My mom was looking in our city. They have like different programs, the little group classes for kids to learn different sports and arts.
Mhm.
And my grandma really liked figure skating. She would watch it all the time on TV. So my mom was like, oh, this would be fun, just something to do. And no intention of it becoming what it was today. It was literally just something to occupy our time and get some energy out
Like
of
a
us.
hobby.
Right, exactly. And from there, my brother and I did group classes for a couple of years, and he at the time wasn't very interested in it, whereas I showed a lot of interest. One of my most vivid memories I have from that time is with my first coach in the group classes before she taught me. We were working on like 3 turns or outside edges, something, very basic. And I was looking at the other end of the rink at the jump and spin class. And they were doing like camel spins, and I was trying to do a camel spin. And instead of my coach being angry about it, she, after that class, went up to my mom and said, I want to teach your son. And my mom was like, okay. Like,
So you were like 5?
I was 7 at the time, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had done group classes for quite a few years just because, again, it was recreational. It was just something to do.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to keep going? Did you have like a favorite skater?
Um, so at first it was just like I really enjoyed it. And then as I started competing more, I remember my coach having a talk with us saying, this is now a point, I think it was like 9 or 10. And she was like, this is a point where you're at a fork in the road. You need to go left or right. And I
Yeah.
encourage you to take the chance and be competitive. And at that point, I was doing really well in competitions as a young kid. And so I found it really fun. And my parents saw it as a really good opportunity. They've never been the type to really push me. They push me and say, like, yes, you need to go to the rink today. But they're not like the typical skate parent that are like, do it again. And, they just saw this as an opportunity for growth, to learn, and just wanted to see where it would take me.
And did your brothers keep skating or not?
So he stopped when he was probably about 8 years old, I
Oh,
would say.
he was
So
young.
like right around the time I started private lessons, that was like his cue to get out.
Wow, so you kept there. Who's
Yeah.
your favorite skater?
Of all time, Daisuke Takahashi.
Oh, really?
Yes. And I have
Wow.
so many reasons why.
Why? Tell me.
Okay. So my big thing in skating, and this is something I preach to everybody, it's
Mhm.
not about quads. It's not about just looking pretty. It's about the full package and delivering a story, and if not a story, a feeling. When you watch a skater, if they're not skating to, let's say, West Side Story or Romeo and Juliet, you want them to just create a feeling for you.
Yeah.
And I've always felt that he embraced both of those. He could do his quads. He was very technically consistent. And yet his skating, it was just like you didn't need the jumps. You just could watch him skate and like
Oh, yeah.
not think about anything else. And it was just, I remember seeing that from a young age and really identifying with that.
He was like flowing on the ice.
Yes. He's amazing.
And he was like you. He skated for so long.
Yes, he's still skating actually.
Oh my God. He's so
He's doing
brave.
ice dance now.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you did a seminar in Mexico.
Yes.
So what do you think about Mexican figure skating, about Mexico? Did you get to know any places in Mexico? Please tell me your story.
Yeah, so I've actually been to Mexico quite a few times just for vacation. The typical like Puerto Vallarta and Cabo
Mhm.
San Lucas and Mazatlan. So I've been a couple of times, and I was very lucky. I got to meet Carlos, who's down here pointing at me. And we became very good friends. We met at PSA Summit and right away hit it off, became friends. And he invited me down to come and teach. And what I love about Mexican skating, and I'm not just even Mexico, but I've done a lot of seminars recently with Peru and Argentina and
Mhm.
Brazil. And what I love about Latin America skating is they just love it so much and they're so grateful. I mean, it doesn't matter the level to me. I taught, little kids marching. We worked on crossovers. We taught double axles, and just they have so much gratitude and they just want to learn. They're hungry to learn. And that's my biggest thing. Even here in the United States, I coach and I work with a little 3-year old boy on marching, and I have a novice lady trying to land triples.
Wow.
It doesn't matter to me as long as they want to learn. And I think that's what's so much fun about the Mexican skating is they're just so excited when someone comes to work with them. And that made me feel so special. And like, I just want to give them all of my knowledge.
That's so nice. That's true because in Mexico, we don't have a lot of coaches or certified coaches. So when someone who knows, who has competed internationally comes to Mexico, we're so excited and we're so eager to learn different stuff.
Right.
And I mean, it's so special for the kids here. It's so new.
Yeah.
They just want to learn everything in a weekend.
Right. And you know what, this might be a little bit strong to say, but one of the things that has always bothered me about skating culture, and this is not just with Mexico, this is with the United States, all of the countries, people only want to give their specialty, their time, their knowledge to the best.
Mhm.
And I experienced that growing up because, and I'm sure we'll dive into it later, but after I started competing more competitively, I went through like a growth spurt and I just was not, I was at the bottom of the group every time. And no one wanted to focus on me. No one wanted to give me time. And then as I finally got good and started getting triples and making it to nationals, all of the sudden everyone wanted to focus on me. And so I always felt like having experience that, it's the same with these smaller up and coming countries.
Yeah.
And it was like that with Yuna Kim. I had the privilege of training alongside her for 2 years when she trained in California. And she told me until she started doing well on the junior Grand Prix circuit,
Nobody wanted
nobody
to
wanted to look at her. No one wanted to help her. They had to pay so much money to someone just to care about her. And I remember thinking, and look at where she, came from and who she became. So look at Donovan in Mexico. He's amazing. I compete with him, but I'm such a fan. And it's the same thing for Mexico. Like, what if they become the next United States or Korea or Japan? And you won't know until you, as a coach, as a skater, give them that opportunity. And I don't see why they or any other small country, the Philippines, why they don't deserve to have that same kind of opportunity. It's all the same sport.
Yeah, that's so true. Like you said, Donovan is a great skater. And in Mexico, we don't have so much ice opportunities or anything.
Right.
So he had to move to a different city and leave his family.
Right.
But he was so young. I think he was like 12 or 13 when he
Wow.
moved with his coach, Goyo. And he left everything. He left school, family, friends, everything to skate.
Sure.
In a small rink, he practices in public session with people who
Right.
can't even stand on their skates, and
Right.
he's doing his triples and quads there. Oh my God. I mean, it's crazy. And we train like this in Mexico. And
Right.
if no one gives them opportunities or sponsorships or ice, just that,
Right.
how are you going to see if they have the talent or not?
Exactly. And you know what I learned? So I'm really good friends. I train at the same rink as Andrea. In fact, I took a photo with her today to show everyone.
Ah! Hola, Andrea.
I
I
was
love
like,
her.
do you want to pop into the interview? And she was like, I won't be there at the time because I'm
Oh,
actually still at the rink right now.
oh really?
Yeah. And but there's so many talented skaters in Mexico, and they're so good at roller figure skating. It's the
Yeah,
same exact sport. If anything, that's harder.
I think so too.
Más
Yeah,
difícil.
yeah, it's crazy.
So, I don't see why they don't deserve to have that kind of opportunity and that chance. And I mean, look at Andrea and Donovan. The two of them together are becoming a superpower, and everyone is noticing. And so for me, it's a pleasure to be able to work with Mexico, Peru, Argentina, all these up and coming countries, because they love to skate, and to me, that's what should be number one.
Yeah, I agree totally. So I want to ask you something. What do you feel when you skate? I know you're a person who loves figure skating. What do you
Yes.
feel?
I feel free, so I always think to myself, even when I'm super nervous, like, you can be nervous and that's okay, but you have the privilege to go
Mhm.
out and do this right now. And you get to share this art form with people, and people get joy from what you do. And so to me, that's like a very freeing feeling. It's powerful. I love to move, and I love to just, use my body and my blades to create, again, a story, a passion, a feeling. And so for me, when I'm out there and people are cheering for me, it's just this like powerful moment. And I always think to myself, like, sometimes it's surreal. Like, I can't believe that I'm that skater that, as a kid, I would watch Michelle Kwan, Todd Eldridge, Daisuke Mao, and just be like, wow, like, look at them, and to be somewhat on that level with them, it's amazing. And so I try not to take it for granted, and I really enjoy it.
Oh yeah, you should, because it's beautiful. I feel the same when I'm on the ice. It's like you can express through the movements and with the music, and
Mhm.
it's such a beautiful feeling. That's
Yeah.
why I wanted to ask you, because I feel some skaters don't skate because they love it.
Right.
Sometimes it feels like some skaters skate because they have to, like a job,
Right.
but
Right.
not everyone has that like emotion.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's so important. And I think it helps too, because I think you don't focus so much on the jumping and on the spins, and it becomes just more natural.
Yeah,
And I think that's, it's important.
I agree. So I know you have been a coach for a long time. So how many years? Like 10 years? Like,
I think 12 now.
oh my
12.
God.
I
So
started right at 18.
has it been hard to be a coach and compete at the same time?
Um,
It's not usual.
I have two answers for that. So one is no, because as I became a better coach, I also became a better skater. So what I was teaching to the kids, it really reinforced what I was
Mhm.
learning. And so the more higher level I was coaching, also the better and more higher level my skating was becoming. And so for me, it was like I was teaching myself in a way. And it goes with the saying, you practice what you preach. And so I'm telling these kids to do something. They look up to me. They know I'm going to these competitions and doing these seminars. So I have to really make sure that I'm following through with what I'm telling them. On the flip side, yes, it's really hard because as I became a better coach, I was becoming a better skater. And so the reason for me starting to coach was actually because at 18, I wasn't really getting anywhere with my skating. I had kind
Mhm.
of hit a wall, and again, I was having trouble with the jumps. And so my coach at the time encouraged me to just start coaching. And her thing was, well, if you end up quitting, at least you kind of have like your next chapter set up.
Mhm.
But what ended up happening was as I started coaching more, I started to get my triples, and then I made my first nationals. And that kind of just like
Oh my God.
snowball effect my skating career. But then at the same time, I was also coaching maybe around 3 or 4 years at that point, and I got my first skater to go to US sectionals. And so I
That's
was
crazy.
competing and coaching at the same competition. And so yeah, it's definitely difficult. I could say that in general, the hardest thing is time management, making sure I get enough time for my training, enough time for my students, and I actually usually put my students first over me. So like even today, I skated after coaching an hour.
Oh my God. So do you get stressed if you have to go to nationals and you have a student who's going to sectionals? Do you feel more stress?
Actually, it's a stress reliever for me. I'm more stressed for them than I am for myself
Oh
because
yeah, totally. Yeah, I know what you mean.
it really puts it into perspective, you know? So, for example, my student a couple of years ago, when he made it to sectionals, he had a really strong chance at making it to nationals. And he ended up just missing it. But I was so nervous because it's not in my control. So then
Yeah,
when I went out to compete, I was a little nervous myself, but I was like, wait, you have control over this. Like you
I
can
know
do
what you
the
mean.
jump. And so actually, it's for me, it's kind of relaxing to compete at the same competition as my students.
Oh my God, you're crazy. I think I did
I know.
that just once when I was almost retiring and starting to be a coach. I just did it once. Like nationals or sectionals or anything. It was just like a small competition
Mhm.
and it was so crazy. I mean, I was so my student, she was like 6 year old.
Uh-huh.
I was so tired and so stressed. It was crazy.
Yeah. No, it takes a lot of practice, just like anything else, and it's become fairly common in the United States, though. Like even at Great Park where I'm at, Michael Brzezina trains here, and he also coaches,
Mm.
and um, a bunch of our top skaters here all coach. A lot of us full time.
Oh my God, that's crazy. I don't
Yeah.
know how you can handle that kind of rhythm. So, okay, so you know how people talk about the age in this sport.
Yes.
So, okay, you kept competing despite your age and getting better every year. So,
Right.
what do you think about people that say you're too old to do figure skating still?
I say
How old are
that
you? Like 29, 30?
I'm 30, just turned 30 in April.
You're 30.
And I'm
Okay.
actually still training. I'm in preparation for next week, what's called the ISP Points Challenge, and it's a competition that the U.S. Figure Skating has set up for their international selection pool skaters. And at
Wow.
nationals this year, I was in the media area after my really good short program, and
Yeah.
everyone, that's all they could ask me is about my age.
Hmm.
And the thing is, they asked it in kind of like, this is my interpretation at least, maybe I'm wrong, but it was kind of like a put down, so they would ask like, oh, what's it like to be 10 years older than the, guys that you're on the ice with? And I was like, I see no problem with that. If anything, I'm more mature. I understand my body better. I understand my body's
Yeah.
limitations. And there's just a maturity that comes with my age that um, you can't teach. You have to just develop over time. And so I think it's great. I mean, if you look at many professional sports outside of figure skating, most of the sports players are at their best in their late 20s, early 30s, some even pushing 40. And so
Yeah.
I don't know why that's not possible in our sport. I mean, I take, as you can see on the screen, I take very good care of my body. I have my
Yeah,
personal
yeah,
training
yeah. That's why
certification.
I'm putting this video. I mean, you're jumping perfectly. You're 30 years old and you look like a teenager.
Thank you. Yes. So I think that's it. I think that there is this stigma about age. And I think that people don't realize that if you take care of your body and you eat properly and you take the time to stretch and to exercise and to really train your body correctly, not just on the ice, then I think you can go as long as you want. And um, look at some of the Chinese pair teams. I mean, those guys are pushing 40.
Yeah, exactly. It's like in Pyeongchang, they did an interview with Plushenko,
Hmm.
and they told him, "You're the same thing. You're like 10 or more years older than the other guys you're competing with. How do you feel about that? You're old." And he was like, "No, I'm very proud of me because I can still jump. And oh my God, I can compete with these guys."
Yeah,
So it's the same thing. You
right.
should be proud because your body is great. You're jumping perfectly. You're fit. You're strong. So what's the
And
problem? I
you
mean,
know,
the age just number.
exactly. And a lot of people will then make the comment after I say that. They're like, "Oh, well, you're an adult. You need to take your life more seriously." And my response is to them always, one, I can pay my bills. So if I can pay my bills, I'm making money, I can pay, my rent, everything. Why does that matter to them? You know,
Mm-hmm.
Two, as far as a coach, I always make time for my students. Even when I'm like overseas at a competition, I'm like doing like, we didn't have Zoom at the time, but like FaceTime with my
Yeah.
student and making sure that they're doing their stuff correctly and answering competition questions. And, like, so for me, my thing is, as long as I can prioritize everything else in my life and nothing is lacking, why does
Exactly.
it matter to anybody what I do and how I do it? And like you said, I'm fit, I'm healthy. Um, for me, my mom and my aunt both have a disease called muscular dystrophy,
Yeah.
and it is deterioration of your muscles. So when we work out, your muscles break down and then they
Oh
regrow.
my God.
But for my mom and my aunt, their muscles don't regrow. So over time, they just break down. And so, like, my mom uses a walker and a wheelchair and needs a lot of assistance. So
Yeah.
for me, it's a way of saying I can do this because God
Exactly.
has allowed me to stay healthy. Whereas I look at my family and see, like
They wouldn't be able to do something like this.
right, yeah. So I also think that um, I think people are jealous too, to be honest. And it's a subject that I was very scared to talk about like the last 2 years. I didn't want to be criticized for sounding negative, but
Hmm.
then I thought about it and I think people are being negative to those of us that are older skaters, And so this discussion might be a little bit, serious or negative sounding, but I want older skaters to understand it's okay. Like,
Of course.
in fact, today on my freestyle, I was skating, and there's a girl. She competes in the adult track, but she used to skate as a kid, and she's 23, and she's trying to get her double flip back. And she was saying that she's like, sometimes I don't know, I feel too old. And I was like, you are not too old. Like, I'm
No.
30 and just did a triple Lutz. You can do your double flip. It might take some time. And maybe you need to, strategize a little bit, but you can do it.
Yes, of course. And I wanted to talk about this specific topic because in Mexico, we have so many skaters who started skating older. I
Hmm.
mean, myself, I started skating when I was almost 12 years old. So I landed my first triple when I was 19. I got to senior when I was 20 or 21.
Hmm.
So it's kind of hard. And
Right.
there are so many skaters like me who started older. And there's some point that when they say, I'm too old, I'm not going to compete anymore. Why? I mean, if you can still skate, if you're healthy, like you said, if you're fit, if you're working out, why not?
Right. Exactly. I agree. And I just think that, I mean, look at Johnny Weir. He started at
Yeah,
12 and he's two-time Olympian, national champion. I
I
mean, he's
know.
got so many great
And
different,
he's still jumping like,
yeah,
oh my
he
God.
jumps better than me.
I know it's crazy. I mean, I wouldn't dare to jump again. I don't know why, but I'm so scared. But oh my God, you guys are amazing.
Yeah. So, and then people will say, oh, well, it's because you're a guy. Well, no, there's some
No,
amazing women.
yeah.
There's a pair skater from England. I don't remember her name, but she's in her 30s and she's married, she has a kid, and she came back to do pairs and went to the Olympics in Pyeongchang.
Oh my
And
God, that's
then you've
awesome.
got like Mickey Ondo, who had
Yeah.
one of my good friends. She had a kid, came back and competed at a very high level. Carolina Costner is the best she's ever been. Like, what was it, 2 years ago when she won the short program at
Yeah.
Worlds? I
Mhm.
think the best I've ever seen her. And she's like 30 at the time,
I
32,
know.
something like that. So I think it's this. I think that there's two areas of life. There's the young skaters and there's the old skaters. And there's a gap in here.
Yeah.
And I think we need to fill that gap and make it so that way, if you were a young skater, look at Mirai Nagasu. She
Mhm.
was young and then she went through 8 years of nothing. And then she came back older. And now she's a big advocate for older skaters and saying the
Exactly.
same thing.
Yes.
I think that, there's a lot of stigmas and stereotypes about like weight and body right now that we're trying to change. And I know even with like color in our sport, seeing more people of race in the
Mhm.
sport. And I think it's also the same thing. We need to have more people of age in the sport. And it really comes down to if you can financially afford it and you're healthy and you have a coach who believes in you. I mean, my coach, I keep trying to quit. And my coach, Tammy, is the one pushing me to do more. She's like, no, you've got a little bit more in you. You can do it. So um, if you find that right mixture and you have all the right criteria, I don't see why you can't continue.
Yes, of course. And there's also the adult competitions now. They're
Yeah.
so trending now. So I don't see why not.
Yeah, exactly. You can skate forever.
Yeah, I agree. So
My
listen
goal is
to your
by,
coach and keep skating.
yes, my goal is at 50 to still be able to do a double axel or a triple sow.
Yeah, you should. Actually, there's a coach in my ice rink, and I have known her since I started skating at 11 or 12. So I never saw her skating. And maybe before the pandemic, one day I was teaching someone, and then I saw this lady skating and jumping and doing doubles, and I was like, who is she? And then I saw, and it was this coach, and she's like 50 years old, maybe.
Yeah.
And I was so impressed. I mean, she was jumping so good.
Yeah.
I was so jealous.
Right. I'm sure you
It's
can still
awesome.
jump too.
Maybe I have a couple of shoulder surgeries, and
Oh my
I
God.
I, I don't know. I should try. So, some people also make some critics, bad critics about you not having quads and those kind of jumps.
Sure.
So, what would you tell them about that? I mean, I think it's not so important if you don't have them because you have something else.
Right.
But what do you say?
I think so. If you go back 5 years ago, I was doing triple axel.
Yeah.
So that's another thing actually, and it kind of puts your previous question and this together. I got my first triple axel at 24, 25. And so some pros to doing it older was that I better understood the power and how to do it. But the problem was, because I was older, it was a little bit harder to get consistent. So that being said, I did try it for quite a few years in the program. I did it in the short, I did it in the long. And I was successful at a few competitions with it, but in general, it took away from my performance. And again, the point system is all about strategy.
Yeah.
It's not about just jumping. It's about where can you get these points.
Yeah.
And so, for example, if you do a triple axel, even if it's clean and you fall, it's going to take away not only from the jump, but it's going to take around from the component score.
Yeah.
So it came to a point, I think last year was the first year that I did no triple axel in either program. And it was just kind of like, why? Of course, I can't get as high of points, maybe, as far as if you look at the technical base,
Mm-hmm.
but I can execute the jumps I can do very well and get pluses. And then
Yeah.
I'm
So
a
it's
good
a good
spinner.
strategy.
Right. So to me, it's all about strategy. And honestly, and I hope no one kills me for this, but I'm not in this to go to the Olympics at this point, like
Yeah.
I'm in this at this point to just conquer my personal goals. And I've conquered pretty much all of them at this point. There's one remaining. And if I can do it, great. If not, then I'm very satisfied with that. But for me at this point, it's not about going to the Olympics. It's about pushing myself, learning more, and just seeing where I can go. At age 28, at the 2019 US Nationals, I got a personal best short program score and personal best placement at nationals at 29. That's unheard of.
Yeah.
And so I think that is why I continue. And that is where I tell people, you know what, again, I got 7th in United States Nationals in the short program with no triple axel.
Yeah.
And I beat, guys that did quads and did triple axels. And so it just goes to show, okay, you want to go to the Olympics, you need it. But if you want to be maybe just under that and still be a good skater, a respected, international skater, I don't think you need it. I think you need the package, the whole thing.
I agree. So that was my next question. So in Nationals 2019, you had an emotional moment at the end of your short program. You broke your personal record and you were in tears at the end of the program. So I know those tears meant something.
Right.
But could you tell us a little bit more about that, please?
Totally. So it's a very, that year, my coach of a long time, Tammy Gamble, decided to take an amazing opportunity to go to Colorado Springs to coach.
Yeah.
And I decided to stay behind and stay in California. And so I went back and forth to Colorado that year. And I trained in California without a coach. One of my best friends, Richard Dornbush, who was another top US skater, he was very grateful to help me. And so leading up to that nationals, I don't want to say I felt lost, because I did have the guidance of Tammy the whole time. And I had all these amazing people surrounding me, but it was just this, like, you take that, and you also take, again, the whole age stigma. That year specifically, so many people were commenting about my age, and I was on the fence about retiring. And so for me, this performance was, everything came together in the right place, in the right time, after struggling on my own through the season. And I didn't know if this was going to be my last nationals or not. So, it just, for me, it was like every little detail that I prayed and cried and hoped for came together. And honestly, like, I started crying right, as you saw, right when I finished the spin. But even in the spin, I was holding back tears, because I was like, no, stay focused, stay focused. But it was just like, you dream of these performances happening, and you always hear the story of the athlete that, had the hardships leading up to that perfect performance. And for me, I really experienced it that year, and it was tough. And there were days I would walk into the rink after my coach moved, and a lot of our skaters moved with her, and there's nobody. It would literally be me. and to find that motivation to keep going was very difficult. So that year specifically was, you know, it was a tough ride, and it was like a gorilla off my back. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I can't hear you. Oh no.
Chicos, se nos fue un poco la señal. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
I can hear you now.
Good. Yeah, so it was worth it. I mean, it was a beautiful program full of emotions. Oh, I just love it. I have seen it like 1,000 times
Oh,
because I also love the music. So I'm a huge fan of these emotional moments.
yeah,
Actually, I have an episode of Glorious Moments because this is what figure skating is about. All sports,
right.
these kind of moments when you feel like you did your job and you fulfilled what you wanted to.
Right. And you know, I just remembered something too about this moment in the warm up. So it's one of those events, like I'm never going to forget like every minute of it. And in the warm up, I missed every single jump.
Oh, really?
I was so nervous. I even cheated. I under rotated some of my jumps, something I never do.
Mhm.
And I was the second skater. So I only had one person, you know, between the warm up and me to get it together. And
Jesus.
I was stressing out. I was shaking, something that I never do. And Tammy, my coach, we went aside and she didn't give me any technique. She didn't give me anything, but asked me one question. She said, "Why are you here?" And I said, "To compete." And she goes, "No, no, 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 no. Why are you here?" And I said, "I don't know, to compete." Like that's all I could think in my brain. She goes, "No, you're here because you love to skate and nothing else. You're not here to get a score. You're not here to get a trophy. You're here because you love to skate. And if you get a score and you get a trophy, that's awesome. But you are here to love to skate." And so she let me be for the next, 2 minutes. And then I got on the ice, I stroked around, still nervous, and she didn't say anything. We just had like a moment of silence. And when they called my name, she said, "You love to skate, so just do that." And it's like this like wave came over me. And like,
Oh my God. That's
I
so
think
beautiful.
that too, that was another reason for the tears too, because it was just, again, like the year leading up to it. And then that moment specifically of the warm up and, everything coming together. It was just magical and something I will never forget.
That's so beautiful. I love this story. So, what would you say was your best moment in figure skating? Would you say it was this one or another one?
I think that I have a lot. It's really hard to narrow that down. And I'm very um, realistic and very grateful for a lot of my moments. So one of my personal favorite that comes to mind is that one. Another one is my very first international competition
Mhm.
where I went just to get experience. And I ended up walking away getting a bronze medal with Yuzuru Hanyu and Nam Win.
Ah,
Um,
that's
so
awesome.
that was another tearful moment. Oh my gosh, I was crying. And there's a funny story with it. Okay, here's one of my favorite moments. After I got the scores and the competition was done, I ran to the dressing room and I was putting on my clothes and I'm sobbing, like you saw in that video. And Yuzuru, he was sitting across from me and he was like, "Congratulate, why do you cry? You get third." And I was like, "No, I'm really happy." And he goes, "Give me a hug." And like
Oh,
the Olympic champion was like worried about why I'm crying. Like
well, because he's such a nice guy.
such a nice guy. So that moment was just, that whole competition was really amazing. And we talk about the age again. I was 25 at my first
Wow,
international and
I'm
walked
your
away with the
fan.
medal. Right. So another one was 2 years later, my first like real, I would say, breakthrough performance at nationals when I did a score breaking long program at 2017, 2016, I think. and I skated to a Perez Prado Mambo medley, and
Nice.
the whole audience was on their feet before I even finished. And those are, again, one of those moments where you look at like Michelle Kwan and you watch that and you imagine it, and you never imagine it's going to happen for you. And then you go out there, you put out this like picture perfect performance, and the whole crowd is on their feet, and you're just like, wow, like
Oh my God.
those are the reasons we skate, you know?
Yeah. It's like you want to make it last forever.
Yes, completely. Maybe that's why I keep going.
Yeah, I bet. Okay, so also every athlete has bad moments or hard moments. So which would you say was your most difficult moment in your career?
um when I hit puberty, it was really tough for me. I was not a very tall kid when I was younger, and then I shot up like really quickly. And so for me, it delayed a lot of my progress in the sport. When I was like novice, junior, and a lot of my friends were getting their triples and getting these opportunities to go to nationals. And if you remember, Mexico, US, and Canada used to do North American Challenge and like all those kind of competitions. And I would be sitting at home watching them,
Oh,
very jealous, you know, but very that really took a hit on me, and I
yeah.
think that was probably the hardest time. And I know like a lot of people are going to watch this and be like, well, I go through that, so what makes you and me different? And I think it was just a tough time, not because of my own skating, but that at the time I felt like a lot of people who again believed in me when I was younger and developing, they stopped believing in me. And I was old enough to feel that and to realize that. And then to make that decision to move on to a new coach and a new environment. It wasn't just my coach, but just a new environment.
Mhm.
You know, it's a tough decision to make, and it's a scary decision to make. And I'm grateful that I did that, because I think that was the step forward I needed to make.
Yeah.
But that like 2 or 3 years of like injury and growing and getting last and seeing my friends progress, that was really tough. And then another tough time for me was I broke my shoulder after the 24, or no, I'm sorry, a week before 2014 US Nationals, which was an Olympic year.
Yeah.
And
So
I
you
still
couldn't even
competed.
compete. Oh, you competed?
I competed, and fun
That's
fact,
crazy.
at the time, that placement at Nationals was my highest US placement, and that was with a broken shoulder.
My God,
And
you're insane.
that season was tough because it was like the first season where I was really competitive on the senior level. And
Yeah.
so I was really trying to make like a statement to get an international competition.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, I ended up getting a really bad groin injury that took me off the ice for the entire summer. And then I started to train slowly and get myself in shape enough to do our sectionals and qualify to nationals. And then I broke my shoulder. And so it was just like injury after injury. And um, that was a tough time too, because when you get one injury, it's like, okay, you know, like we're going to get past this. When you get two injuries and it's in the same year, that can be really
Yeah, it's so
detrimental.
difficult.
Yeah. So I think that was tough. And luckily at that time, I had really a great team. Like again, Tammy and her team of coaches and the doctors and the PT I went to, everyone was there to help and support me. And that was what made that difference and made me keep going forward.
Wow. Okay, so any advice for the skaters who think they're old to skate?
Yes, I say just take the Nike phrase, just do it. um, I think, again, what we were touching on before, do it because you love to do it. And as long as it's not going to have a negative impact on your life, you know, if it's not going to affect your health, if it's not going to affect your finances, um, if everything is working for you and you have a coach and a parent, or in your parents or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, or your husband, wife, whatever, they support you, then I say do it. Because,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not super spiritual in a sense of religion. I am
Mhm.
Jewish and I practice a little bit, but I'm very spiritual in a sense of I believe everything happens for a reason
Yeah.
and those kind of spiritual things. And so one of the things to me that's very big is you only get one life, right? And of course, everyone is going to make decisions that maybe we regret. But we're going to make so many other decisions that are going to be non-regretful. We're going to really appreciate
Yeah.
and be happy that we did that. And I told you about my mom and my aunt, and I always think there is a chance I could have that disease. I've not been tested, and I have no interest to get tested. Um, but I always think if I'm my mom, when I'm 50 or 60 and I can't walk on my own anymore, what do I want to look back and be happy that I did? I don't want to regret
Of
not
course.
taking that one chance. And so I tell everyone that because look at COVID, how the world has just
I
changed now.
know. Yeah.
And everything, today's September 11th, and 19 years ago, that changed our lives. So my point is, everything in life can change like that.
Yeah.
And so you want to have no regrets. And so for me, as an older skater, I wasn't sure with COVID and with time off if I was going to be skating, if I would even be coaching, who knows, right?
Yeah.
And so as a skater, though, I was like, well, if this last nationals was my last nationals, and because of COVID it's not possible this year, whatever, I'm grateful, I'm happy, I'm so like complete that I did it. And so for me, I feel like if I continue on with this season, then it's more to be proud of. um so I tell them, just go because you want to do it because it's your life and nobody else's.
Nice. So
Yeah.
what's next for you? You said you have one more goal. Can we know which goal is that?
Sure, I'm going to put it into the universe because it's been a goal for the last 2 or 3 years, and it's the reason I've actually kept competing. And that is to get a Grand Prix. And we talk about the score, and like you were saying with the triple axel, and unfortunately, and I hope I don't get my head chopped off for saying this, but I don't really care. 2 years ago, I really deserved to get the extra spot at Skate America.
Yeah.
And I say that because we have a summer competition series that we have to take part in, and
Mhm.
we get monitored by our federation. And I had, after the 3 competitions, I had the highest score in the country. And usually, the skater with the highest score in the country, if they don't have a Grand Prix at that point, they usually get that extra spot at Skate America. And for me, a Grand Prix is like going to the Olympics. Like that is
Yes,
like
of course.
the ultimate goal. And it didn't seem possible before, and it's been possible now. And I didn't get it 2 years ago. And last year was like a disaster when I tried to do it. So we're kind of just passing over that. And so for me, I'll be very honest, I wasn't sure if I was going to continue this season either. And I'm still taking it a day at a time and, seeing where it goes. But my coach said, with how things are functioning for COVID and everything, you have a very legitimate chance of
Yeah.
getting a Grand Prix. So that's the final goal. The steps I have to take to get there are US Figure Skating is doing like a virtual competition.
Yeah, I heard.
So I'm taking part in that next week. And at my rink, we have Mariah, Nathan, and myself taking part in it.
Wow.
And so you do it like on your own time at your rink in your costume. And so if I can do well at those, my goal is that they will give me the opportunity to represent the United States at a Grand Prix. And so we'll see. I've been skating really well. I've only been skating again like a month, to be honest.
Wow.
In fact, I don't know if it'll play through, but I will show you a video that I took
Yeah.
today. Um, let's see here. Here, wait, let me turn this thingy 1 second. Okay, let's see. So here's just like a triple flip from today.
Wow. And you're skating with your mask on. You're so brave.
Yes. So, 4 weeks in and I feel amazing. So
Wow.
we'll see where it goes. And that's my final goal. And again, I'm taking it a day at a time and we'll see if it happens. And if it doesn't happen, then we'll kind of reevaluate from there. But I'm just so proud to say that at 30, I'm a part of Team USA and get this opportunity and compete with guys 10 years younger than me.
That is awesome. So is this competition going to be broadcasted or something or not?
Yes, I think it's going to be broadcasted on the US Figure Skating Fan Zone. So I think they just posted the juniors, if I'm not mistaken, and we have to do 2 of them. So we're doing one next week, and then we have one the first week of October. And So yeah, so we'll see how both of those go. And the great thing is they take your best score. So if next week is
Nice.
really good and the one after that's not so good, or vice versa,
Okay,
they're
so
only
they
going to
take the
count.
highest.
Yes, correct. So it's really
If you
nice
have
to
the
have that.
information, please post the link so I can share it with my audience and they
Definitely,
can see it.
definitely. Yes, of course.
That
Yes.
is awesome.
Yeah. So I'm excited,
I'm
it's
excited
thank
too.
you. Thank you.
I really hope you can achieve this goal. I mean, you deserve it.
Thank you. Thank
Have
you.
been
And
here.
I do want to say something about achieving a goal too.
Yeah,
If like for me, if it's not achievable, if it's not in my cards, I feel very at peace. Like I'm very happy with my career and all the
of
things we
course.
just talked about. And to me, that's like better than any Olympic medal or any Grand Prix. So if it doesn't happen, you know, at this point, I'm still so grateful with what I have. And I want athletes to know that it's actually okay to not accomplish all of your
Yeah.
goals and
Yes,
to
of
walk
course.
away with your head held high and your chest pumped up. It's okay to do that.
Yeah. How long have you been competing?
Too long. No. um, I started when I was 7 and I'm 30, so
Wow.
23 years.
Oh my God.
This
You
is
have like the longest story of competing.
my 11th year senior if I finish this entire season, which I plan to.
Yay! So you must get this Grand Prix. You deserve
Yes,
it.
I hope. So we'll see. We'll
So
see where it
everybody is
goes.
wishing you good luck in the chat.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So we'll just see where it goes. And at this point, it's just I'm skating for me, I'm skating for the fans, and I'm skating because COVID has ruined any kind of like other plan I had anyway. So
For everyone.
right. So yeah, we'll see. That's the goal.
Well, good luck.
Thank
We'll
you.
be watching you every step of the
Thank
way.
you.
Yes.
Thank you. Me encanta Mexico.
Yay! So we'll be waiting for you here.
Thank
And that
you.
was, well, those were all the questions. I'm so happy you have been here in this interview. I had so much fun.
Me
And
too.
yeah, I mean, you're an inspiration for everyone, even for me. Now I
Thank
want to come back.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me. And it's really I'm grateful to have these opportunities to talk with you and share my story, and hopefully it inspires so many. And again, I love Mexico. I love Latin America skating. I'm such a fan of everyone there, and I'm just your guys' biggest supporter.
Oh, we love you.
Gracias.
Don't go. Chicos, muchas gracias por conectarse. Gracias por estar en esta entrevista. Por favor, suscríbanse a mi canal si no están suscritos para que vean más entrevistas como esta. Gracias por estar aquí. And Sean, thank you so much for this. We'll be in touch.
Yes,
And
definitely.
please share the link for your competition so we can see it.
Definitely. Definitely.
Okay.
Will do.
Gracias a todos. Thank you. And
Thank you
have a
so
good
much.
day.
Gracias.
Bye bye.